This week on Monday Night Raw, a fatal four-way would determine the next #1 contender for one of the most dominant champions in the history of professional wrestling and the most dominant and longest reigning Intercontinental Champion in the history of the WWE in Gunther. It was a fatal four-way that threw shades back to the black and gold version of NXT. The NXT version that fans love to tune into every week and that made WWE pay-per-views on the main roster feel like an afterthought after WrestleMania quality events, one after the other after the other. NXT Black and Gold, ran by Triple H, was stacking up quality pay-per-views and 5-star matches like flapjacks at the IHOP on a Sunday morning. And this fatal four-way to determine the next challenger for Gunther was no different, and it gave fans a sense of hope since Triple H began running the WWE creative team. The 4 participants in the match were as follows: former NXT champion and Blackheart in Tommaso Ciampa, the original bro Matt Riddle, the man that gravity forgot, not Neville, but the original man that gravity forgot in Ricochet, and finally, Chad Gable, former member of American Alpha. Gable, Ciampa, Riddle, and Ricochet put on one of the best fatal four-way matches in recent memory, one of the best matches on the main roster, and one of the best showings that all 4 of these men have had on the main roster in quite some time. At first glance, I feel like people thought that Ciampa would be the one to challenge Gunther, and I think that's a phenomenal match, and that would be a great idea if he would have been the one to come out on top, but it wasn't him. The next challenger more than likely would have been thought to be Ricochet after, even though he lost to Logan Paul at SummerSlam, he had one of the best matches of the night, but that's nothing new to King Ricochet. Then maybe you could go with Matt Riddle, but I don't think there was a ton of hope there for him. But I feel like the last man that anybody would have expected to walk out of this match as the new #1 contender was Chad Gable. Gable has always had the Olympic-style wrestling, the Kurt Angle-esque in-ring ability with a little bit more athleticism put on top of it or sprinkled on top of it like a professional wrestling sundae. However, aside from his in-ring ability and aside from his run in NXT as a former NXT champion as part of American Alpha with his former partner in Jason Jordan, who now is a backstage assistant or a backstage producer in the WWE, he never really had his chance on the main roster. There was a few character changes and a few differences in Chad Gable's booking, but I feel like people believed that the end for Chad Gable's WWE career would come once he joined into the Alpha Academy or created the Alpha Academy alongside former member of Heavy Machinery and former Mr. Money in the Bank in Otis. However, from an entertainment perspective, I feel like many professional wrestling fans and WWE fans, hardcore or casual, would say that the Alpha Academy and Gable and Otis have been some of the most entertaining portions of WWE television on a weekly basis. However, this video isn't about Otis. This video isn't about the Alpha Academy. This video is about Chad effing Gable. So let's get back on track to what we originally came here to discuss. The winner of this fatal four-way, and like I said, one of the best fatal four-way matches in WWE history in recent memory, and one of the best main roster Monday Night Raw televised matches in recent memory as well, would be Chad Gable. Gable is going to be the man to challenge Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship. And in my opinion, I feel like he's the perfect man to end the historic reign. Now, you might laugh it off originally, but I feel like the only person people would really get behind to beat Gunther for that IC championship is somebody who has to go through a David versus Goliath-esque storyline in order to get that championship. And nobody fits that bill better than Chad Gable. You could go with a big man versus big man. You could go with a Brock Lesnar. You could go with a Bobby Lashley. You could go with a guy like Drew McIntyre. You can go with an Omos. But the most effective person to take the title off Gunther is a man who nobody believes would be able to do it. A man who would have to scratch and claw and fight his way in order to conquer the beast or conquer the giant and become the giant slayer in order to grab the gold. And nobody fits that bill better than the man we've mentioned in Chad Gable. I feel like this would build Gable up to be a star. Now, maybe you don't want to see Gunther lose the championship, and I understand. Maybe you want to see Gunther take the IC championship and challenge the World Heavyweight Champion in Seth freaking Rollins in a title versus title match. Maybe you want to see him challenge a future WWE champion like a Cody Rhodes. And I don't think any of those ideas are necessarily bad in any stretch of the imagination, but I don't think they're nearly as effective as a guy like Chad Gable defeating the mighty Gunther and winning his first singles championship on the main roster against one of the most dominant and imposing forces in the entire WWE. This would build Gable up to be a star, this would give Gable his crowning moment, and this would make him look like a serious threat to a potential world championship picture on either Monday Night Raw with the World Heavyweight Champion in Seth Rollins, or on SmackDown with the Universal Champion in Roman Reigns. I love everything about Gable getting this shot. I'm not so certain he's going to win the title, but if WWE was smart, and if WWE wanted to do the right thing, they would have Chad Gable defeat Gunther, have David conquer Goliath, and do the right thing. And the right thing is Gunther versus Gable.